Alrighty. Apparently I am live, but YouTube has a giant error message on my screen, so I might not be live. I guess I'll wait to hear from you all in the audience. Let me know if you guys can hear me or not. And by guys, I mean like the one or two people in the audience. Error message on my... It says it's all working fine, despite the fact there's a giant error message. I just have a giant error message on my YouTube screen saying an error occurred, please try again later, and then a bunch of random letters and numbers. But apparently you all can hear me, so I'm just gonna continue. How y'all doing today? Decided to just do a random question and answer stream. I have no idea how many people are going to show up. I have no idea how long this is going to go. If there's enough people here, this could go on for an hour or two. And if only 10 people show up and only 2 people ask questions, this might be over in as little as 15 minutes. So, yeah, right off the bat. The general asks, are we supposed to see you too? Nah, I don't have my webcam hooked up. I guess I could hook it up, but I'm kind of a mess today, so I don't think I'm going to. I'm just gonna have a very boring, static background. I mean, I think the background's not that boring, but it's not all flashy and animated, so... So yeah, I guess before I start letting people ask questions, and stuff, I guess a bit of an announcement, because I just don't feel like making a trailer for it or anything. The last version of Hyrule Conquest is now out on ModDB, and I guess that's a little bit of a misleading title, because there probably will be 1 or 2 more patches fixing bugs after, so it might not be the total complete final version, but it's kind of the last version, because I'm moving on to, you know, my Star Fox game now, because Star Fox Event Horizon's doing very well. It's a very nice fan base. I'm kind of on a roll with it right now. I've been just kind of pumping stuff out for it a lot lately, and I'm just really motivated because I'm on all the Saria stuff right now, which is the stuff I'm really interested in. So, goodness, my throat's drying out. So yeah, that was just the one little announcement before we go into the questions about Hyrule Conquest. But anyway, I guess I'll just start looking for questions. Nicola Dadick, I'm probably pronouncing your last name wrong, or both of your names, but yeah, I kind of just answered that question, I guess. Last version, does that mean there won't be any more updates, or just the current version is out? There probably just will, unless there's no bugs or anything at all, which I highly doubt. There's probably going to be a patch or two, and I've heard EXO say that he wants to keep doing stuff for Hyrule Conquest, but I know that EXO works very infrequently, so if there is, it probably won't be anytime soon. So there might be future versions, and I don't want to make any promises, but it's entirely possible that a year or 2 or 3 from now, I'll just be like, hey, I miss working on Zelda, I'll just work on Hyrule Conquest again. But I don't want to make any promises, because right now I'm thoroughly sick of Zelda, and I don't even want to think about it for the time being. Just want to go into Star Fox for at least the time being. To answer the general, no, the stream is not only about Hyrule Conquest. That was just, you can ask me all the questions about Star Fox, or even just things that have nothing to do with Star Fox or Zelda. It's just a random Q&A stream. That I had an announcement about Hyrule Conquest that I didn't want to make like a trailer for, because I'm just sick of Zelda, so I figured I'd do it in the live stream. Laser RV asks, when is Breath of the Wild Conquest? Probably never, but It's funny you say that because I do feel like at this point the Zelda, like, they should just drop the Legend of Zelda title and just call the series Breath of the Wild because it's clearly just turning into an extension of Breath of the Wild. In fact, I think it was like a week ago, like a bunch of Breath of the Wild and their new game, like, related stuff Nintendo tried to patent, which was really hilarious. Like, they tried to patent, like, standing on the edge of a ledge, and I'm just what a silly company. Codeman, when is the next Hyrule Conquest update? I guess whenever EXO's in the mood to do stuff, that's when the next one is. From Saria to Soria. I was always amused by the fact that Soria is pronounced the same way as, well, not the exact same way, but really close to Saria's name. When I got Star Fox Assault and I was playing it, and then that one line when Crystal's like, "Poor beautiful Soria," I just immediately pictured Saria from Zelda, which I always thought was funny. Anyway, into the questions. Hyrule Conquest lore question. What was supposed to be the deal with the Kokiri evolving into the Koroks in the older canon? In the older Nephi canon, it was so long ago, my memory's a bit fuzzy, but it was something along the lines of that was kind of the goal of the Great Deku Tree from the very beginning, is he was kind of, he kind of shepherded the Kokiri, who were the children of a bunch of Hylian bandits, into his little weird isolated commune. And his goal from the beginning was to make them something more, I guess, more like the Korok, something more integrated into the forest. But in the more new Hyrule Conquest canon, that never really got made because I kind of just stopped. I actually had a completely different idea of, like, what the Koroks were and why and how the Kokiri became the Koroks. It had to do with Sulcaris, actually. But I don't know if that'll ever happen, so there's probably no real point in even bringing that up. Anyway. The Lord of Creation asks, I have a unique universe of mine. Do you want to hear the name? Sure, you can post the name in the chat. I'll hear the name. Halo Gamer asks, how long did it take you to make this? Well, what do you mean by this? Do you mean Hyrule Conquest or Star Fox Event Horizon or this live stream? What do you mean by this? Specify, please. Nicola Daedric asks, imagine someone else taking in charge while you're away. Well, yeah, like I said, EXO has mentioned, both to me personally and on the Discord, that he wants to still do stuff for Hyrule Conquest. So I guess in that case, he's kind of in charge. I don't know how often and how frequently he's going to work on it, because the stuff he does for Hyrule Conquest is already pretty infrequent. I also know that Iron Wolf was interested in continuing to add stuff. I don't know what he's gonna add. So yeah, there might be other people, quote unquote, taking charge of Hyrule Conquest while I'm away. I just don't know what's in stone yet. So that's possible. Robert Small asks, how did you feel about the Zonai? I basically see them as another draft for the Oka. Yeah, they do have quite a few similarities for the Oka. Kind of like the Oka too, there's a lot of Nightmare Fuel implications with them, especially because they, the Zonai are these, like, 15-foot tall goat monsters that are apparently railing the royal family, which is just, wow. I don't know how I feel about the Zonai. I up front just want to say I absolutely hate them, and I think they're just terrible and stupid, and they completely ruin the entire mythology of Zelda. But honestly, like, they could do some interesting things with them. I just know that they won't. Same thing with the Oka. Like, I really like the Oka, but they did absolutely nothing fucking interesting with them and just forgot that they existed. Like, I can guarantee you in 10 years, the Zonai will be gone. They'll be replaced with something else. Um, in fact, one of my predictions for the new Zelda game was that they're just going to fucking forget Hylia and replace her with something else. And the Zonai kind of did that. They've kind of replaced her in a way. So, I don't know. I don't know what my opinion on the Zonai are. I feel like, I guess the same opinion I have on a lot of Zelda stuff. It's like, oh, that could be interesting, but they're going to absolutely do nothing interesting with them. So whatever. I guess that's my opinion. The general. Thoroughly sick of Zelda. Never thought I'd hear that phrase. Yeah. I never thought I'd ever say anything like that either. But I think the last year of working on Star Fox and just all the, working with Estelle Ellis and just all the kind of really, really positive support and feedback from the Star Fox fandom, it kind of made me realize that working on the Zelda stuff has just kind of not been fun. I don't want to overgeneralize, but the Zelda fandom just doesn't really like my Zelda stuff that much. They don't really seem interested in fan works in general. And yeah, they don't really like my stuff. So it's I've always felt like working on Hyrule Conquest, it was kind of just like an uphill battle that, I don't know. I've got the complete opposite vibe with Star Fox over the last year, and it made me realize, like, I just kind of want to go to that where it's fun and everyone seems to like it. And, on top of that, I just haven't really enjoyed any of the Zelda games lately. So it's just, I don't know. It feels like it's the right time to kind of shift gears to Star Fox and kind of leave Zelda behind, at least for the time being. So yeah, I never thought I would ever say that either, but meeting a magical blue fox can have that effect, I guess. Anyway, Kevin the Bear asks, if Hyrule Conquest is going into extreme hiatus, where can I read the old lore? A lot of pages and art are missing from the wiki. I imagine it eventually will be added to the wiki. I know that Codeman and quite a few people are constantly working on the wiki. So I imagine sooner or later it eventually will all be on the wiki if it's not already. I guess I could try and put down like a general synopsis of all the old lore somewhere. There's a lot, so it'd probably take me a long time to do, and I don't know if I'd wanted to devote my time to putting it all down, but I don't know. I'll see what I can do. So, I mean, for a franchise that's been around for 35 years, I guess it's normal. Yeah, I mean, despite the fact that, I don't really like Zelda much anymore, honestly, like, it's had a better run than pretty much any other video game series I can think of. Like, there's more decent Zelda games out of the total Zelda games than there is crappy ones, which is really rare for any series. Most series, like, you're lucky if you get 2 or 3 games, then they just go to crap. Like, immediately, like, another series that comes to mind that just went to crap after like 2 or 3 games is like Halo. Like, I really liked Halo, and then it just went to crap. I kind of feel that way about Final Fantasy too. I feel like there's only a few decent Final Fantasy games, and then most of them are just garbage. So the fact that there's like 10 decent Zelda games is actually that's pretty unusual, and actually that's a really good run. So I guess I can't really complain about, Zelda just not really being interesting anymore, because, again, actually, great example, Star Fox. There's only like 2 or 3 decent Star Fox games, and then the series just has gone off the rails to crap. So yeah, Zelda had a pretty darn good run, all things considered. Codeman, is Russell going to make goat babies with Ordana? No. And it's funny because the in retrospect, the Zonai make Ordana just absolutely hilarious. I can hear Lizzie laughing in the background. Anyway, Intrepid Swordsman asks, well, he asked something else and then it zoomed down. Where the hell was the question? Let me zoom back up. Holy crap, I really hate the YouTube chat on me. I'll be looking at the YouTube chat and then all of a sudden, with no prompt or anything, it'll just jump down and I'll completely lose my place. Okay, there's the Korok question. Yeah, Intrepid Swordsman asks, what are some of the problems with the Zelda fan base? A lot. I'm speaking in generalizations, though, so if anyone in the audience, don't take it personally, but my perception of the Zelda fandom is that they seem, and this isn't just me in general, but they seem very uninterested in any kind of fan work or like alternate fan interpretation of Zelda. Like there's not, like if you think about Star Fox, there's like, I can name like 3 or 4 really big like fan Star Fox projects that the Star Fox fandom seems to be interested in, like a Fox in Space and My Thing. But if you go into like Zelda fan stuff, like most of the big Zelda fan stuff is like really obscure underground like ROM hacks for Ocarina of Time. There's not like a bunch of really big like Zelda fan things. I guess there's there's a few of the animations that are being made, but the Zelda fandom doesn't really seem very interested in fan work. Most of the fan base for Hyrule Conquest seems to just be people that really like real-time strategy games, and there's kind of a crossover with Zelda. I've had lots and lots and lots of Zelda fans over the years tell me they just find my depiction of the Zelda characters just, well, I mean the things they've said is pretty broad, but mostly negative. Great example is my depiction of Agatha. Even though I do feel like my depiction of Agatha is a pretty logical extension of how she was portrayed in Twilight Princess, but so they're not really open to like alternate depictions, which is that's really unusual to me, because I feel like almost every new Zelda game is like a very different interpretation in comparison to each other Zelda games. Like Wind Waker looks like it's in a completely alien universe compared to Ocarina of Time or Twilight Princess. So I do find that really strange that they seem to have that attitude where they're like very opposed to like weird or alternate depictions of Zelda stuff. But in addition to that, they just seem like a bunch of assholes. Like they're just very mean-spirited, at least in my encounters with them. I don't know, maybe there's like some insecurity thing going on there. I don't know. I just don't relate to them too. It seems like the Zelda fan base is really obsessed with fan theories and theorizing and the timeline and stuff, and I feel like the timeline is just really pointless. So yeah, those are some of the issues I have with the Zelda fandom. Just it's a fandom I don't really relate to, and I don't really fit in with, I guess. Anyway, let's see, who did you get for the peppy voice, and is there going to be ground combat like Assault? Well, I got a really freaking awesome actor for Peppy's voice. I'm actually going to be doing quite a few things with him soon, so he'll probably be a little bit more in the spotlight soon, because he's going to be in my original stuff too. I've been talking with him about that, but yeah, just keep an eye out for him, because he's without a doubt the guy I got to voice Peppy. He's probably the best voice actor. He's probably definitely one of the best voice actors I've ever worked with, and he's probably he's definitely in the top tier. He's definitely in the top tier of voice acting for my Star Fox game, but yeah, he's fantastic. He does a bunch of other voices in Event Horizon too. He's not just Peppy. He's also voicing Randorn. He voiced one of the Venom pilots. Who else did he voice? He did a bunch of the Sharp Claw growls and grunts in the animation I did where Fox meets Crystal. Yeah, he's fantastic. He has a really broad range too, so he's definitely gonna be a I'm definitely gonna keep him around for my original stuff too. So he's great. And then will there be ground combat like Assault? Well, if you mean like running around on dinosaurs or like in vehicles, yes. But I don't think there's gonna be any levels where you're running around on foot. That's partially because I just don't really like those levels in Assault that much. I feel like the running around on foot levels were kind of poorly implemented. Not that I couldn't find a way to make them better, but the other reason is it's technically possible to do it in the Free Space engine, but I feel like it would be really wonky, which I guess would be true to Star Fox Assault, but I don't know. I very much lean more into the direction of the vehicular combat. I've always preferred video games where you're in a vehicle like blowing stuff up. Like actually, this is a little known fact, but Twisted Metal is one of my absolute favorite series of games. I love vehicle combat, whether you're flying around in an aircraft or a spacecraft blowing stuff up, or you're driving around in a tank or a car. Like I like vehicular combat as opposed to running around on foot. Even in I mentioned Halo earlier. The reason I fell in love with Halo is when I first played the game with my friend like fucking 25 years ago. We played the Assault on the Control Room, the one level, the one icy level in the first Halo, and within the first 5 minutes of that level, you get into the Scorpion tank. The moment I got in the Scorpion tank and I was driving around blowing things up, I'm like, okay, I love this game. I've always leaned towards vehicle combat. Any game that's about vehicle combat, I'll usually give a shot. Another game I love that's centered around vehicle combat is Battlezone. The one on the N64 and the PC, not the original Atari one. The one that's kind of an RTS also. I love driving around in the tanks and blowing stuff up. So that's where my mind is when it comes to deciding on what to do for levels. I definitely lean more towards driving around in a vehicle. But that's just me, I suppose. Maybe they'll be on foot levels, but at the moment I don't really have any plans for it. Codeman, you should remove Majora. Hyrule Conquest shouldn't have moon levels and factions. I know what that's a reference to. Kevin the Bear asked, was there a plan for the Witches Coven as a minor faction? How are they supposed to play? Yeah, there was a plan for them. They were a lot of the minor factions in the game, they were designed to make up for deficiencies that other factions might have. In the case of the Witches, I feel like the fact that they were mages and had magic was kind of was their role. They were meant to, if you're a faction that doesn't really have good magic units or mages, they would be a choice that you'd probably lean towards because you'd get access to mages. They'd have a flying mage, which would have been pretty rare in the game. So they'd have a flying unit and a flying unit that's also a mage, which would have been pretty powerful. Hopefully that answers that question. The general asks, or I guess it's not really a question, but every time I watch one, a Zelda game gets #1 every single time. Basically, Zelda fans are the Nintendo equivalent of Batman or Dragon Ball fans. Yeah, I think it was just yesterday. I was in a forum. There's a forum that I'm in that it's not a Zelda forum, but there's a thread in it that's called, I think it's called like talk about your controversial video game opinions. And someone in that thread had mentioned that they thought the Sky Islands in the new Zelda game were really unimpressive. And I kind of just jokingly expanded on that, and I mentioned, like, yeah, I think the whole game is unimpressive, and it kind of led to, I should have known better, it led to a bunch of Zelda fans that were in that thread just kind of throwing a fit. And I basically said, like, yeah, the fact that, Breath of the Wild is considered really impressive and just got all these perfect scores is delusional. I just flat out said it. I think it's absolutely delusional to think that. And I didn't even comment on the quality of the game. I didn't say the game was bad. I didn't say anything of that nature. I just said the narrative and kind of like the cultural zeitgeist of this is the most amazing thing since sliced bread is completely delusional. And I will argue that with anyone. I think it's completely delusional to think that game is somehow extremely impressive or like Actually, you know what? I take that back. There is one thing impressive about Breath of the Wild, and that's that it sold so extremely well despite not being particularly impressive. But I guess that's just my opinion, so whatever. But yeah, I feel like Zelda gets a free pass where a lot of other games don't, and it's very unfair. I think there's a lot of double standards, but I don't know. I guess that's how fans are. I guess that's why I like Star Fox fans so much. They're very critical of the Star Fox games. They seem to be able to, recognize the flaws in it and point it out. Like, almost every day in a Star Fox Discord, like, people are shitting on Command. Which is funny, because I don't think Command is the worst thing ever, but if Command was a Zelda game, I can guarantee you, despite, the problems with that game, most Zelda fans would just be like, oh no, it's great. So, yeah, I kind of agree with you there, General. I think the kind of flawlessness that each Zelda game gets kind of perceived as is, well, it's wrong, but anyway. Let's see, Lord of Creation mentions that Hyrule Conquest and Hyrule Total War inspired me to make all of my stuff, and the Chronicles of Malarian. Thanks, man. You're very welcome. That makes me really happy to hear. The fact that something I made inspired other people to make their own stuff, that is one of the reasons I make stuff. So the fact that you said that about my Zelda stuff actually makes me really happy, and I'm glad, and I hope you have even more success with your thing than I did with Hyrule Conquest. Let's see. Are there any more in-depth Hyrule Conquest guides planned? In your DeviantArt, there are several that remain as excerpts. I'm super interested in the lore you put into them. I don't know if I'll ever make any in-depth guides because the game's technically unfinished, but I'm sure Codeman and his gang will put as much stuff on the wiki as possible. It's just a matter of, how long it takes them to do that. I guess you can ask me lore questions in this stream, and I'll try and answer them as best as I can. But the older lore of Hyrule Conquest, before I rebooted it, has kind of become fuzzy to me because I kind of just push it off to the side. So I might be a little bit fuzzy on some things, but I'll try and answer things in the stream if you want. Let's see what other questions there are. Let's see. Intrepid Swordsman asks, I do know that there are some Zelda games that got absolutely flamed on release, like Wind Waker. I definitely think before Wind Waker came out, it was kind of shit on by everyone. I think that's just because it looked so completely different from Ocarina of Time Majora's Mask. But I think after Wind Waker came out, I seem to remember it getting perfect scores everywhere, and everyone seemed to love it. I remember at the time, I think there was only one person. I was pretty young, and I can't remember the guy's name, but I had one friend at school at the time, and he's just like, I can't believe Wind Waker got fucking perfect scores everywhere, man. He was just like completely baffled as to why that game got a perfect score. But I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I seem to remember once Wind Waker actually came out, it pretty much it was loved by pretty much everyone, at least the media, like all the review magazines or whatever, they all seem to love it, and it got They got perfect scores all around. Like I distinctly remember Game Informer. Game Informer in particular was just going on and on and on about how fucking amazing Wind Waker was, which is why I ended up getting it, because they're like, oh, this game is... Oh, hang on, my alarm's going off. Anyway, I remember I got that game because I was, Game Informer was going on about how amazing it was. And then I remember I got Wind Waker, and I quit on it at the Forsaken Fortress because I just wasn't enjoying it. I ended up coming back to Wind Waker later to finish the whole game, and yeah, Wind Waker it's okay. It's not bad. But it does have quite a lot of issues, and I do think that's more so because the game was rushed. Like, it's a well-known fact that Wind Waker is actually incomplete. Like, I think 2 or 3 of the dungeons were just completely cut from the game, and they kind of scrambled to get it out on the GameCube. So I have a feeling that a lot of its flaws are probably a result of that. But at the time it came out, I'm pretty sure most people liked it. It was before it came out that everyone seemed to shit on it because no one really wanted it. It looked just completely different from, Ocarina of Time. At least aesthetically. But anyway, maybe I'm wrong though. If I'm wrong, go ahead and correct me. It's been like what, over 20 years since Wind Waker came out. It was a long time ago, so my memory of that time period is a little blurry. Let's see what other questions there are. Let's see. I thought the Aperoids were a cool concept in Star Fox Assault. Do you have a cool plan for them in your game? Yes, actually, despite the fact that Assault is not my favorite Star Fox game, I do think the Aperoids are I think they're a very cool antagonistic force for the Star Fox team to go against. In fact, it's a funny story, and I've told this story on my Discord and other places multiple times, but before Star Fox Assault came out, this is like 1999, so this is before Adventures even came out. When I was very young, I used to make like little Star Fox comics, and I found them all a few months ago, and I scanned them, and I showed some bits of them on my Discord, but for some reason in 1999, I made a bunch of Star Fox comics that had the Borg in them. So for some reason, I always had this notion that there should be something Borg-like in Star Fox, and then that happened with Assault. So yeah, I definitely like the Aperoids, and yes, I definitely have quite a few plans for them in my game. To me, they're basically they're the biggest threat that's ever been like in a Star Fox game. So yeah, I like the Aperoids. I feel like they could have been done better than how they were done in Assault, but for what was there, I think they were cool. I like the whole butterfly aesthetic that they have too. I think that's a really interesting, that kind of butterfly moth aesthetic. Like I like the fact that despite the fact that they're like these machines that just go around just absorbing everything like fodder, I like the fact that the Aperoids have this very like beautiful and pretty kind of aesthetic to them. I think that's a really interesting that's something really interesting that sets them apart from similar ideas like the Borg or the Cybermen, where the Borg and Cybermen just look like these cold, like ugly, lifeless, just monstrosities of machines. With the Aperoids, they actually have a very beautiful aesthetic to them, which really sets them apart. I really like that. See, any opinions on Yamada no Orochi? I have a feeling I know what that is, but I feel like, that's a sword, isn't it? Let me look that up so I don't make a complete idiot of myself. Oh, duh, Okami. Well, yeah, the sword of Amaterasu. That's probably what I was thinking of. I actually haven't played the Okami game, even though I'm well aware of it, and I wanted to get it at the time, but it was one of those games that I couldn't find anywhere when it came out, so I never got it. Because it came out right at the time I actually got a PlayStation 2, and I think it was a PlayStation 2 game. I'll probably play it someday, though. I'll probably just get a ROM of it. But it was one of those games that, yeah, I wanted to get when it came out, and then I just couldn't find it anywhere. which is funny because there was another game I think that came out the same year as Okami. It was called Paraworld, which is kind of like Star Fox Adventures. It's a game about going to a dinosaur planet. I always wanted to get Paraworld, but I could never find it anywhere. And I think it goes for like over $100 on eBay right now. So yeah, I have never got Paraworld, even though I've always wanted that game. Calicorn asks, when can we get the Tears of the Kingdom full gameplay Nev edition? Never. I don't ever plan on playing that game. I maybe if you guys give me thousands of dollars, maybe I'll do a live stream of trying out Tears of the Kingdom. I still need to finish Breath of the Wild first, though. I never finished Breath of the Wild. Let's see. The general mentions, I guess it's probably because Zelda gets an abundance of stuff where Star Fox fans don't get enough. Yeah, that's I agree with you. I think that's my that's my working theory as to why Zelda fans don't seem to have any interest in fan-made stuff and Star Fox fans do. It's just because Star Fox fans are starving. Nintendo barely does anything with Star Fox, and the last few things they've done with Star Fox have not been very well received. And I think that element of being starved definitely plays through into Star Fox fans taking a risk and being more accepting of checking out fan stuff than Zelda fans. Because other than the latest Zelda game, there's been a new Zelda game every 2 years since Ocarina of Time, which is something people don't seem to realize. Like, they have churned out a Zelda game every 2 years. I think it's even more if you count, like, the spin-offs, like Hyrule Warriors, or, like, the remakes, like the 3DS remakes and the Wii U remakes. There's been a new Zelda game every 2 years from Ocarina of Time all the way until Breath of the Wild. So yeah, Zelda fans they're pretty spoiled, I guess, when it comes to getting new content every 2 years. Obviously the only exception is, the new Zelda game, which is probably because of all the, the unspecified virus, the unspecified plague that kind of delayed everything over the last few years. If that didn't happen, then Tears of the Kingdom probably would have been out 2 or 3 years ago. But, so yeah, I agree with you completely, though. It's probably the main reason. There might be other reasons, but I don't really have, like, any evidence to kind of back that up. Like, I do have several other theories as to why Zelda fans are like that and Star Fox fans aren't, but I haven't really, it's kind of just personal hunch, not really any evidence for those, so I won't even mention them, I guess. Shame, it seems as if the Total War version was more appreciated, even appearing in several videos. If by more appreciated you mean that, like, it was in the news and stuff, like IGN covered it and a bunch of websites covered it, then yeah, the Total War version definitely was more, it definitely was, but I think that was very early on when it was still new, and after only like a year or two, like I remember when I still have the email when IGN wanted to cover Hyrule Total War, the guy I was emailing, he was like, yeah, just give me more information when you have new stuff, and we'll keep showing the new stuff on IGN. And then I kept sending them new stuff, and they never made another article or anything on Hyrule Conquest after the initial trailer that they showed. So I think that kind of appreciation in air quotes of Total War was just because it was new and unusual. And after it'd been around for a few years, like, the novelty of it kind of wore off, and none of those websites were really interested in it anymore. The same thing with, like, Let's Players. There was a few Let's Players that early on they were really interested in showing Hyrule Total War, and then they just all stopped, and then they stopped replying to me. So, but as far as, like, like the fan appreciation, I feel like Hyrule Conquest might have got it a bit more. I don't know, it's really hard to tell because I don't have like hard numbers or anything. So I don't know. Like they have their fan bases, and I'm really thankful for it. Just the quote unquote general Zelda fandom never really seemed to like either of them. And I think it was a combination of the fact that it was a real time strategy game, which is kind of a niche genre, and the fact that I had a pretty different interpretation of the Zelda universe that most Zelda fans don't seem to share or like. I think the combination of those two things kind of just put off a lot of Zelda fans. And the fact that, honestly, I feel like it's because I just said I don't like Skyward Sword. When Skyward Sword came out, I quite famously said I think this game is pretty crappy, and I wasn't very diplomatic about it. I just flat out said this game is garbage, and it kind of it's just garbage. And I actually think that had ripple effects, because to this day I've seen people mention like, oh, this guy fucking hates Skyward Sword. So I don't give a crap about his shit, which is really sad if, me saying I hate one Zelda game is enough to have like a ripple effect, going on like like over a decade now. I think Skyward Sword was 12 or 13 years old now. So a combination of those three things probably has contributed to Zelda fans just not being interested or not showing much appreciation for Hyrule Total War and Hyrule Conquest. Anyway, let's see what other questions are there. Robert Small, would you say your Hylia is similar to Scarlet Witch, an overpowered failed mother figure? I don't know too much about the Scarlet Witch, so I'll take your word for it. I actually don't know if... I definitely would say Hylia's... She probably is something like a failed mother figure. The thing I was trying to do with Hylia is I was trying to find a way to rationalize or to make her fit in with Zelda, because actually that was one of the things in Skyward Sword that I thought was a negative against the game, is it kind of very poorly tried to introduce Hylia and Fi, however you want to pronounce it. It tried to introduce all of these new mythological concepts into Zelda that didn't really fit at all. Like, it's like, how come Hylia has never been mentioned in any of the other Zelda games before? Things like that. That's always a problem with prequels, though. It's not necessarily a Skyward Sword problem. There's other prequels I can think of that introduce like, oh, here's this thing that was always here all along, but it was never mentioned in any of the things that take place after it. So just accept that it was here, guys. So a lot of my intention with Hylia was to kind of try and show like the problems that would come around from having this brand new deity figure just appear out of nowhere into like an already established mythology. And I actually think I failed at my job. I ended up scrapping a lot of the ideas I had for Hylia when I rebooted Hyrule Conquest. So, as far as like a mother figure to the Hylians, then yeah, I would definitely say she's very much a failed mother figure. Very much so. I don't know if that was my intention though. She just kind of fell into that category, I guess. Now that I think of it, in which year did you become a Star Fox fan? I don't remember the exact year, but I want to say it was like 1996, 97. It was not too long after 64 came out. I discovered Star Fox at an arcade, actually. I went to an arcade for, I think it was my cousin's birthday party, and I don't remember the name of the arcade, but they actually had an arcade unit set up of Star Fox 64. which was really interesting because I think it was a bootleg one. I don't think it was like an officially Nintendo licensed arcade unit, but they jury rigged an arcade setup for Star Fox 64. So that was my introduction to Star Fox, was playing 64 like at an arcade unit at this arcade, and I was just like, this is fucking awesome. But for some reason, for like a few months or to like a year after that, I couldn't find it at any game store. And then like a year after I played it, my father surprised me. He's like, "Hey, I found Star Fox 64. Here it is." And then I found out a little bit after that it wasn't the only Star Fox game. I found out there was the one on the Super Nintendo, and then the canceled Star Fox 2, so I went looking into those. And so yeah, I was introduced to Star Fox probably in, I want to say 1997 or 98, sometime around the time 64 came out. And I've loved Star Fox ever since. Yeah, hopefully that answers that question. I would appreciate the lore database. Well, after I take a break, maybe I'll give Codemin a giant mass of text that he can put on the wiki. Oh, damn it. The freaking chat did the jumping thing again. Let's see. Intrepid Swordsman mentions Star Fox and Zelda have this in common. They both had a massively influential N64 game, but then were followed up by an oddball GameCube game. Yeah, that's true. I do think in the case of both series, both Star Fox 64 and Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, they're probably the most, I don't want to say they're the best games, and well, with Star Fox, I do think 64 is probably the best in terms of like technical quality. In terms of technical quality, I think Twilight Princess is probably the best Zelda game, even though it's not my favorite. Well, I don't know. Maybe Twilight Princess is my favorite. I really like that one. But yeah, their N64 games absolutely, they will not leave the psyche of anyone that played them. The strange thing is, though, both Star Fox 64 and Ocarina of Time, the really weird thing is, despite the fact that they were so influential and so well loved, they have almost no imitators. Like, there's almost, I mean, now in the last year, there's quite a few games trying to be like Star Fox, but they seem to be more like the SNES one. There's this game I got recently. I haven't played it yet, but I have it on my list of games to play. It's called First Squadron, and it very much feels like it's trying to be like the SNES Star Fox. So even to this day, it seems like there's not that many games that try to be like Star Fox 64, and it's the same thing with Ocarina of Time. There's no Ocarina of Time imitators that I can really think of. I think the closest was the Darksider game, which it's still not really quite exactly like Ocarina of Time. It's just weird that those games were so monumental, and they had such an influence on everyone, and yet there was really no direct rip-offs of either of the N64 Zelda or Star Fox games. That's just really interesting to me. There was tons of rip-offs of Super Mario 64. There's 10 rip-offs of Super Mario 64, and a lot of them are really good too. But there's no Ocarina of Time rip-offs at the time it came out and to this day. I guess there's Legacy of Kain, but I feel like that wasn't really a rip-off. That's just one of those games that was kind of similar at the same time. But yeah, that's an interesting thing that I noticed. Let's see. The general asks, may I ask those here who played Event Horizon if they have encountered my flight stick issue? I definitely know that some people have mentioned that, not with flight sticks, but with USB controllers, that the analog stick has issues. So there might be some weird thing going on with the engine or the launcher when it comes to reading analog sticks, which a flight stick, I'm not an expert at the technicalities of a flight stick, but it seems like it's a giant analog stick. But that's a question that the people who work on the engine would probably have an answer to, because I don't even have a flight stick to like test it out with. But I guess your question was actually directed at the audience, so I guess I'll let the audience answer that. Let's see. Elizabeth R mentions, I would appreciate the lore. I've never seen a fan work like this before and just want to say thank you. It seems like a lot of hard work. Well, thank you for your kind words. It definitely was a lot of hard work. I definitely have put way too much time into working on a Zelda game that I probably should have spent on, more real life stuff. I don't regret it though. Despite the fact that I'm kind of sick of Zelda and kind of want to move on to Star Fox, I don't regret making Hyrule Total War or Hyrule Conquest. I feel like neither of them really captured what I was trying to do. So I feel like on some level, like I kind of failed at them, but I definitely don't regret working on them. But yeah, I appreciate that. I'm glad you liked them, and hopefully you like Star Fox too, because that's where a lot of my effort's going now. As a longtime Star Fox fan, yes, this is absolutely true. The franchise did run off the rails. It very literally ran off the rails. They got rid of the rails in Well, actually, no. In Adventures, there is levels where you're on rails, so I guess it didn't completely go off the rails. But yeah, Star Fox is really weird because immediately with its, with Star Fox 2, it immediately tried to be a different genre than the original Star Fox. Like, it has some surface similarities with the original Star Fox, but Star Fox 2 is a really different game than the original. So right out of the gate, Star Fox completely started to do the flip-flop on what its genre is. And then it went back to being an arcade, like, rail shooter with 64. And then it flip-flopped into being a Zelda game. And then it kind of went back to being a rail shooter, but not really with Assault. And then it flip-flopped to Command, which was kind of a spiritual successor to Star Fox 2, but not exactly. And then there's whatever the fuck Starlink is. And so yeah, Star Fox has been all over the place when it comes to what is Star Fox. Like, the only consistent thing with Star Fox is that it's about a bunch of animal characters in space. Yeah, so, yeah, Star Fox has been all over the place, which I always thought was very unusual. That's a very strange thing for a series to do. I mean, I guess I can give props for, like, trying to experiment. It's just unfortunate that a lot of the experiments with Star Fox have not really been that great. Yeah. Your mileage may vary, I guess. I know lots of people who love Assault and Adventures. I mean, I like both Assault and Adventures. They're just not my favorites. I guess I'm the odd one out because I don't hate Command, but most Star Fox fans seem to absolutely despise Command. Anyway, let's see what other questions there are. Oh, Gabriel Lott mentioned my Agatha was really creatively done. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I thought Agatha being duped by malevolent bugs was a possibility, like, even in, like, the canonical Zelda games. Well, maybe, at the time of Twilight Princess. Definitely now I don't think they would do something like that. Yeah, I don't feel like my decisions with Agatha were particularly creative. I feel like they actually were. Like, this is a logical direction this character can go in. You have this really strange, creepy girl who lives by herself with no parents. She's constantly talking with bugs, and there's, like, why does she own, like, this expensive mansion? Like, there's something very sketchy about Agatha in Twilight Princess. So I don't know, I felt like that was just kind of like a natural direction to go with her. And I did like her dynamic with Mido in Hyrule Conquest too. I really like the fact that they're kind of like diametrically opposite, where she's this character that has a very clear, like, cause that she's part of that she's willing to do anything for, and then Mido has absolutely no cause at all. Mido just kind of drifts, from side to side. He's a constant traitor. He's like, I'm a Kokiri. I serve the Great Deku Tree. And then, oh no, I serve the Goma because they're promising me. Oh, I'm going to turn against the Goma because, he's very much a character without a cause. He just goes with the flow and has no direction. Whereas Agatha has this very, this very rigid, like, she's very much like, the Goma's my family. These bugs are my family. They're everything to me. I believe in what they're trying to do. So where she's blinded, she's blinded by all the terrible things that the Goma are doing and the consequences of what they're doing. Like they're both like two completely extremes, and as soon as I realized that, I'm like, these two characters, they gotta meet. They gotta play off of each other. And then there's that one scene that I actually really like where Maedo's just like, Agatha, like, let's just bail out on the Goma. Let's just go. Like, let's just forget about this cause. He finds a cause. He finds his cause finally. He's like, hey, this Agatha person, I like her. Like, I want to run away with this character and like, or this lady and, actually cement something. And then, but Agatha, she's like, no, I'm too dedicated to this cause. I can't go with you. Sorry. And then she dies. I feel like that was, I really did like that whole little bit with Agatha and Mido. And if other people appreciated that, then that's awesome. But it seems like that was one of the things a lot of Zelda fans didn't really like. But I really liked that dynamic of a character that's really blinded by their cause versus a character that has no cause at all, and they're both playing off of each other, and they're both slowly coming towards that balance that they both need, and then it just doesn't work. I like that little tragedy too. But yeah. Anyway. Intrepid Swordsman. It feels like Nintendo tried to overcorrect where the Star Fox franchise was headed by remaking 64 twice. Yeah, I think that's a fair thing to say. It was I know for sure they realized it because there's that famous interview with Dylan Cuthbert where he talks about how Miyamoto had like a meltdown rant after Command didn't do very well. How Miyamoto's like, I don't understand Star Fox fans. Don't they know that Star Fox is supposed to all be about experimentation or whatever? Like, so I think they did realize that Star Fox fans were not really interested in the flip-floppiness of Star Fox. And remaking 64 and then 0 probably was their attempt to kind of course correct. But again, I think that's a misunderstanding of what Star Fox fans want. I don't think Star Fox fans literally want Star Fox 64 over and over and over again. They want a game in the mold of Star Fox 64 that is a continuation of 64. They wanted Star Fox 64 2, the sequel. The same similar gameplay with some new features, a brand new story. Like, that's what they wanted. And to some degree, that is what Assault is. Assault isn't exactly like that, but Assault is definitely closer to that than like any other Star Fox game. So, yeah, Nintendo is a bizarre company. They're so weird. That's not a hot take. I've been hearing for years that Nintendo is just fucking weird. They really are. Let's see, Gabriel Lot. Your characterization took very flat characters and made them dynamic. Oh, I appreciate that. I definitely would say Mido was a very flat character in Ocarina of Time, but I actually think Agatha is one of the more interesting characters in Twilight Princess. Even though they didn't do a ton of stuff with her, there's a lot of implications about her in Twilight Princess that I thought was pretty. I feel like she actually is not exactly a flat character in the game she's from. I absolutely despise what they did with her in Hyrule. Was it Hyrule Warriors, where they turned her into like an airhead, like butterfly goddess where she's flying around with butterfly. I thought that was really stupid. But yeah, Mido's pretty flat in Ocarina of Time. He's just kind of like an asshole bully. But I don't know, even he has a little teeny tiny bit of something when you go back to the Kokiri Forest later, which is more than I can say for some of the new Zelda game characters, but yeah, I appreciate that. I'm glad you liked what I did with Agatha and Mido. Why the hell does my alarm keep going off? Sorry about that. Anyway, Ladies Man asks, how's Estelle doing? She is super extremely busy right now. As far as I'm aware, she's doing okay, but ever since I think it was like the first week of July, all of July she was completely swamped with different things to do. I'm not sure. I'm trying to think of what stuff I'm allowed to say and not. I think she would be fine if I said some of the things she's been up to. She's been up to some stuff in her personal life. She got engaged. I think actually that was before July. She got engaged. I know she's moving to a new house right now. She has 2 other jobs she's doing. Her job at Venom and her job with Believe Coding. She's been doing a bunch of conventions. Several of them that I was supposed to go to, but unfortunately, the American bureaucracy is extremely slow, and my passport still hasn't shown up, so I unfortunately was not able to go to several of the conventions that she's been to over the last 2 months. In fact, I'm invited to be on a panel with her. She got me on a panel with her for something in October, but I don't even know if I'm gonna get my passport in time for that. So I don't know if I'll be at that convention with her. But yeah, she is super busy right now, and she's trying to set up a studio at her new house to do. She wants to do a bunch of Twitch stream stuff. She'll have more news on that probably at the end of August, and I'll mention it on my channel too. She's starting some Twitch stream stuff that she's gonna do, and she's trying to set up like a room studio in her new house for that. But she's not completely moved into her new house yet, so I'm pretty sure that's what she's really most busy with right now in August, is trying to get into her new house. So yeah, hopefully that answers the question. She's extremely busy right now. I actually kind of miss her quite a lot because I haven't talked to her nearly as much as I used to. But yeah, hopefully she's less busy in September. Let's see. Ice Cream or Ladies Man mentions I bought Nintendo Power Star Fox Adventures magazine on eBay. That's interesting because I bought the Nintendo Power 64 one not that long ago because I have it sitting around here somewhere. I got the 64 Nintendo Power one like 2 or 3 months ago because I didn't have it. Maybe I should get the Adventures one. I never had the Adventures Nintendo Power whatever. Anyway. See, Laser RV mentions there's nothing to correct. They should have gone the Assault way, making the gameplay more varied and have a more engaging story. Yeah, I feel like building off of Assault probably was also a good direction to go in. The problem with Assault is, I guess the same problem with Wind Waker is it's well known that game is incomplete and rushed. It was originally supposed to be an arcade game, and that got scrapped. It was supposed to have all the branching paths. It's like, even without any of the behind the scenes info, it's really obvious when you play Assault, the game is incomplete. The controls are wonky. The sound, like, it has all the telltale signs of this game isn't finished, but we're forced to release it right now. It has all of the signs of it. So I feel like if Assault had like another year of polish, it probably would have been even better than it was. And I do feel like they could have continued expanding on Assault, like that style of game, and it probably would have been a decent direction for Star Fox to go in. So yeah, I think I agree with you. Yeah. Let's see. Ladies man, what percentage complete is your game? Which one do you mean? Star Fox Event Horizon? I'd say Event Horizon is like 30% complete, maybe. That seems about right. It's hard to really pinpoint because most of the pretty much all the assets in the game are done. It's just a matter of putting the levels together and then getting all the voice actors and the voiceovers done. And I think the voiceovers actually are the part that will take the longest. Just if I'm going by how long it's taken to get the voiceovers for the levels that we've already got voiceovers for. We've finished 6 levels in the Lilat Wars, and it's taken, I think, 8 months to do it. So, and that's just because of, everyone's got, all the voice actors have their own schedules. They can't all, and they're all doing it for free. So it's not like they're under contract where I'm like, you got to do the voiceovers like right now by this time. So the voiceovers, like the game will probably be completely done and completely playable before all the voiceovers are done. So, it's really hard to give a percentage, but I'll just throw out like 30%, something like that. Intrepid Swordsman asks, why is there an Andros Pog face trending on the Star Fox subreddit? I have no idea. Let me know when you find that out, though. See, Ryan Belcher, Assault was my favorite, and 64. Yeah, a lot of Star Fox fans like Assault a lot. And I know quite a few people that consider it their favorite. And in retrospect, I think I've told this story before. Back in the day when Adventures came out, I really, really loved Adventures. And then when Assault came out, Assault was the first Star Fox game that I actually returned to GameStop the next day because I was really disappointed by it. I was, really excited going into Assault, and I bought it. And I played it, and I beat it like the night I got it. And I'm like, that's it? And I felt kind of disappointed. And I'm like, well, I beat the game. I guess I'll just return it. And I returned it and I got Lego Star Wars the next day instead. But then years later, I was like, it's been a while since I played Assault. I want to play it, and I don't have it. And I didn't, so I went to go out and buy it again, and I couldn't find it anywhere for like cheaper than, like it was going for like $80 used at GameStop. And back then, I don't think I had a job yet, so I didn't really have any income at the time. So I couldn't fucking, I just scrounged money here and there, and I didn't have $80 to blow on a used video game. So for years, I just, I couldn't play Assault, and I didn't have ROMs or emulators then. I think Dolphin was around, but I wasn't really in the emulation world at the time, so I couldn't just get the ROM of it. So I went years not playing Assault, and then one of my friends was just giving away a bunch of games that they didn't like, and one of them was Assault. I'm like, I'll take it. And so I took Assault right off of them. And then years later, when I replayed Assault, and I replayed both Adventures and Assault like back to back, and I found years later I kind of didn't like Adventures nearly as much as I used to, and I liked Assault a lot more than I used to, and I thought that was kind of interesting. So I definitely like Assault more than I did when I first played it. And I think that's just because like years had gone by, and when it came out, I didn't realize like it was kind of a game that was rushed out the door and it was kind of incomplete. But years later, I had a bit more context, and I'm like, you know what? For a game that was rushed out the door and incomplete, this isn't that bad. Assault does have my favorite bad line of all time in it. It has my favoritist so bad it's amazing line. But yeah, anyway. Ladies Man asks, has Nintendo sent their ninjas at you yet? If they have, I've not been aware of them. So no. I don't know. Maybe Nintendo likes my stuff, but I'll consider myself blessed in that regard. Let's see what other questions are there. Let's see. Honestly, having all the Zelda games in one timeline is pointless. I definitely agree with you now. At this point, having all the Zelda games on one timeline is, well, it can't be done. Like, they're so completely contradictory to each other. I don't even think it's possible to rationalize them. I feel like at this point, yeah, they should all just be like the, I feel like if I were just handed, the Zelda series by Nintendo and they're like, you can't do all your weird artsy fartsy stuff, like you gotta just follow our rules or whatever. I feel like what I would do is the Godzilla thing where I would set different Zelda games in like their own specific continuities. Like in Godzilla, you have like the probably gonna pronounce it wrong. Was it the Heisei continuity or Heisei continuity or whatever? It's like these 5 Godzilla movies are here. These 5 Godzilla movies are here. Now you got the new Shin Godzilla stuff. Basically, all these independent kind of Godzilla universes. I would do that with Zelda. I'd have like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask and Twilight Princess and like their own continuity over here. I'd have Skyward Sword and Breath of the Wild. Well, actually I wouldn't, because the Tears of the Kingdom kind of gives a middle finger to Skyward Sword. So yeah, I'd have Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom and their own continuity over there. I'd have the Wind Waker and Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks and that's what I would do. Or I guess not even give a shit anymore, because yes. I think where I would differ from your opinion is I feel like they could have done that. They could have had them all on one timeline if they had stuck to that years ago. Which I think that actually is something a lot of Zelda fans want, because so many Zelda fans just seem absolutely obsessed with the timeline and trying to make it all work. So that to me is an indicator that Zelda fans in their hearts, they really, really want like one long continuous like legend, like interlinked like continuous legend, and they're not getting it. But I feel like it's way too late for that. So in a roundabout way, I agree with you. Zelda games should not be on one timeline. It's too late for that. Nicola Dadick asked, well, since you mentioned it, have you checked out the Twisted Metal TV show? I saw the trailer for it, and I kind of cringed at it, so I don't have high hopes for it, but I might watch it someday. Yeah, I love Twisted Metal. It's one of those games I never really talk about because I don't really know anyone else who likes it. But Twisted Metal is one of my absolute favorite video game series. In fact, when I was a kid, I had an idea for like a fan game that was basically Twisted Metal, but with characters and vehicles from a bunch of different sci-fi universes, and one of them was Crystal and the Landmaster. So in like 2001, I drew out like this fan game on computer paper of like Crystal and the Landmaster going against like characters from Space 1999 and like the Eaglelanders and just all these different sci-fi vehicles just in like a tournament blowing each other up. So yeah, Twisted Metal is very much one of my favorite games. I very much like the original. I even like the ones that people don't like Twisted Metal 4. I actually think is pretty decent. I know a lot of people hate Twisted Metal 4, but yeah, Twisted Metal's fantastic. I don't know if the show's gonna be fantastic. It looks really cringy, but I don't know. Maybe it'll be good. I guess we'll find out I guess I'll find out someday. Let's see. I must be really far behind because now people are bringing up Twisted Metal, which I think I talked about an hour ago. I guess I think I'm really far behind, but let's see, what other questions are there. See, Robert Small. I guess this is continuing off of his timeline thing. Even without an overall timeline, there are some games that'll always connect. That's basically what I was saying. Like I would group sets of Zelda games in specific categories with each other. Let's see. You might like Everspace 1 and 2. I like to think it as the SAS. Does that mean spiritual sequel? What does SAS mean? The SAS of 64. But it's a much more evolved Star Wars Squadron, so it can be disorientating. I've definitely heard of Everspace, but I have not played it, so maybe I'll look into it. Codeman asks, what BE characters will be brought over to Sigma? Just EW probably. Oh no, Shizawa. Shizawa will be brought over, and I guess Coleman, Mockbell, Stein probably will be. Who else? Like, no one in the audience but Codeman probably knows what the hell I'm even talking about. So this will be the section where everyone tunes out and leaves. There's probably more that'll be carried over, but those are the only characters I can think of. Katie Lewis asks, will the Hyrule Conquest story and lore Bible come out soon? Probably not soon. I just want to work on Star Fox, and I don't really want to go near Zelda, but maybe one day I'll just release like an outline of everything I'd planned on doing, and then Codeman could put it all on the wiki. I mean, it's possible one day in the future I'll come back and work on Zelda stuff. I don't want to make any promises right now because I'm just not feeling it right now, so. Nicola Danik. If you want to insult the Zelda fans, tell them there's a free Breath of the Wild on the market, Genshin Impact. Yeah, I've seen people mention Genshin Impact on some forums, and then Zelda, they compare it favorably to Breath of the Wild, and then Zelda fans go nuts, which that's just funny to me. It's like, why would you be upset that there is a game that is inspired by a game you like that is doing things bigger and better? Okay, so as an example, I love Roller Coaster Tycoon. Roller Coaster Tycoon is probably my absolute favorite game of all time. I love Roller Coaster Tycoon. If they made a bigger and better Roller Coaster Tycoon that was not Roller Coaster Tycoon by people that were not involved in Roller Coaster Tycoon, that would make me fucking happy. And they did. It's called Parkitect. Parkitect is a fucking fantastic, amazing game. It is very clearly a ripoff of Roller Coaster Tycoon, but it is bigger and it is better. I am not, if someone came to me and said like, hey, this is Parkitect, it's a bigger and better Roller Coaster Tycoon, I'd be like, awesome, I'm gonna get it. And I did. I got Parkitect and it was fucking amazing. So if you love Breath of the Wild and someone's like, there's this bigger and better Breath of the Wild and it's free, my response would probably be, I'll check that out. That sounds great. I loved Breath of the Wild. I'll probably like this game that you say is bigger and better and free. I would not, spurg out and have a meltdown and be like, no, fuck that. Like, that just, again, I don't relate to Zelda fans. Like, that mentality is so alien to me. Like, if someone was like, hey, we're making a Star Fox game. It's not Star Fox, but it's ripping off Star Fox, and it's bigger and better. It has awesome voice acting, and Estelle Ellis is in it, and it's gonna be awesome, and it's free. I'd be like, yeah, I'll try that out. That sounds awesome. I don't know. I don't understand Zelda fans. Anyway. So yeah, Adventures had flaws, Assault had flaws, Command had serious flaws, but they were fun in their own rights, even if Command destroyed the Star Fox story. Yeah, I agree with that statement completely. I think that's actually a very kind and diplomatic way to describe all three of those games. They all have flaws. They all have very positive things in them too. And poor Command does indeed kind of fuck up the Star Fox story, and I don't think Command fucks up the Star Fox story. I think what it does is it assassinates several of the characters. And Command is just a really lame way to end the Star Fox series, because it's an ending to Star Fox. Well, it's 9 endings to Star Fox. It's very much treated as, this is the conclusion of Star Fox. Here's 9 possible conclusions. Pick the one you think is best, and there's really only one conclusion in the game that's any good. Most of the conclusions in that game are the team breaks up, everyone's miserable, and just everyone kind of goes their own way. There's only really one positive ending in the game, and it's one you actually have to work for to unlock. So I can guarantee you most at least casual players, they never even saw the positive ending to Command, which is, the one where, Crystal and Fox have, they have a son, and then the son starts a brand new Star Fox team. With, old man Falco. That's really the only positive ending in the game. And for an entire series to kind of just end on that note is a little weird. Now I like tragic endings. In fact, all of my stuff except for Star Fox Event Horizon will probably end in some kind of bittersweet tragedy. I feel like I feel like tragic endings are when they're done really well, they're done really well, but Command wasn't a tragic ending. It was just dumb drama bullshit that they kind of artificially forced. It was, yeah. But despite that, there's still a lot of things I do like about Command. There's a lot of things I like about Adventures. There's a lot of things I like about Assault. But there's problems with all three of those games too. So, Fandom 131 says, I like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom for what they are. Neither's perfect or groundbreaking, but they were fun. Yeah, that's completely fair. Like, if you like those games, that's fine. But your statement that they're not groundbreaking, I think that, yeah, a lot of Zelda fans and and it's probably just because, the media really seems to just gush over these Zelda games, and I'm not sure why. Like, even, was it Kotaku? There was some video game media outlet that Nintendo, like, did some shit to or something, because they were acting, I don't know, I think it was Kotaku. I think Kotaku, like, leaked a bunch of Tears of the Kingdom stuff, so Nintendo's like, you're not getting any review copies, fuck you, you're, like, blacklisted or whatever. And they just ended up shilling for the game anyway. It's kind of amazing. Yeah, anyway. I think your statement's pretty fair, though. And you know what? I've said it before. There's things in Breath of the Wild I like. Like, there's positive things in it. I've said many times I feel like the depiction of the Rito in that game is way better than Wind Waker. Like, there's positive things in that game I like. And if I really sat down and dug into the new Zelda game, I'm sure I could find things I like in that game too. I didn't like Breath of the Wild much, so why would I play the Breath of the Wild 1.5? You know what I mean? Like, but I'm sure I could find things in it I like if I really tried. But yeah. There's very few games I can think of that are just so bad there's nothing in them I like. I can usually find things I like even in games that aren't particularly good. Intrepid Swordsman, the endings of Command aren't canon. Yes, that is true. None of them are canon. The whole game isn't canon. Yep. Funnily enough, Dylan Cuthbert's even said that. Yeah, you mentioned it in the next comment. Yeah, Cuthbert confirmed that. Yeah, Command is just not canon anymore. And it seems like it probably never was. But when the game came out, it was very much marketed as, like, this is the end of Star Fox. Pick your ending, whatever. So, see, I could use wiki help. Codeman, I would love to help you if I wasn't so damn busy. With the Star Fox. Maybe I could still help you. I mean, you can ask me questions and I could probably give you answers or whatever. Anyway, let's keep looking for some more questions. See, I feel like Robert Small, I guess this isn't really a question. See, I feel like Zelda fans are only ignoring certain problems because they're still on the face value hype. I mean, having an open world at all is pretty addictive. I mean, at the moment, it might be inspired by hype, but I feel like Breath of the Wild was like, 5 years old, and people were still pretty, I guess, hyped over that, even though, like, the hype had kind of faded away. I don't know. I feel like Zelda had such a huge impact on a lot of people's childhood that they cannot bring themselves to admit that it might be declining in quality. That's kind of the vibe I get. Obviously, I don't know what's in people's hearts, so like this is all just theoretical based on a lot of the things I've seen people say. But I very much get the vibe that it's like this weird, like I can't acknowledge problems with this thing because I love this thing so much. Like it's something in that kind of, it's got that kind of energy. That's kind of the vibe I get. And also, honestly, it might also be kind of a social taboo thing, because Zelda fan, it's like this feedback loop thing where like Zelda fans will just completely disown you and like destroy you if you like say anything negative. So it discourages people from wanting to like kind of stand out from the herd, so to speak. So there might be a bit of that going on. It could just be hype. I don't know. I really don't know. I'd like to do like an actual study of the phenomenon, but I'm so burned out on Zelda right now. I don't really care. All I know is I'm not having fun interacting with that fandom, so I kind of just stay away from them and just kind of smirk, I guess, whenever I see something silly or dumb. Flutterbaws, the cell shading scared people. I don't think it was so much that it scared people, because, you know, a lot of people ended up liking Wind Waker when it came out. I think it was more so because the year before they had showed a Zelda game that looked completely different. So people kind of had it in their mind that, oh, we're going to get, you know, the next Ocarina of Time that looks... basically, the game that looks like Ocarina of Time with GameCube graphics. So I think it's more so a case of people felt like we were promised something and then you guys gave us something completely different. I think, again, it was so long ago, it's kind of hard to really... I'd have to like go back and find, you know, sift through old forums and see what people were saying and whatever. But I don't think it was so much that like they were scared of the cell shading, because cell shading was actually really huge at that time. There's a lot of games doing it, like that one with the guy from X-Files in it, that one first-person shooter, I can't remember. It had like a number name or something. There was a lot of cell shading games coming. There was a Spider-Man one. There was a lot of cell shading games coming out that people were interested in and ended up liking. I think with Wind Waker, it was very much a case of people had this feeling of false advertisement that they did a 180 on. And me, I didn't see the Space World Zelda GameCube game the year before Wind Waker was announced. I didn't see that until years later, so I had no idea that was even a thing. So when I first saw Wind Waker, I was like, oh, that looks interesting. I'll maybe try it out when it comes out. I like Zelda. I'll try it. And then I heard Wind Waker was super great, so I ended up trying it out, and my final opinion on it is, it's fine. It's okay. So that's my perception on the whole people freaking out about Wind Waker before it came out. It's not that it was cell shaded. It's that, hey, we were promised something else, and you guys like suddenly are doing this cartoony, strange thing that doesn't look anything like the thing you guys showed a year earlier. What gives? That's kind of what I think happened there. Because that's actually what happened to me with Breath of the Wild. When the Wii U came out, they showed that... I don't know if any of you remember, there was that Zelda demo on the Wii U where it shows Link fighting an Armagoma, and like the graphics in that look fucking amazing. Like it looks like Twilight Princess with much better graphics. There's like reflections on the floor and everything, and you know, Link, his facial expressions look all detailed, and he's fucking fighting the Armagoma, and it looks awesome. Like, okay, if that's what the next Zelda game looks like, I'm gonna at least, you know, try it out. And then, you know, 2 years later, we get fucking artsy fartsy Breath of the Wild, which looks like everyone's made with melting ice cream. And I'm like, hey, what the fuck, dude? Like, the other thing looked way cooler. Why are you not doing that? So I had a similar experience with the whole Wind Waker phenomenon, like 10 years later with Breath of the Wild, actually. But anyway, that's my theory as to why everyone was kind of not digging Wind Waker when they announced it. But anyway. I often forget TOTK happened, to be honest. Yeah, it does seem like it's kind of faded a little bit, but I still see articles for it pop up every now and again, so it's still out in the pop culture. To me, I feel like Breath of the Wild is the game no one would forget about and shut the fuck up about for years. I feel like everything before that has just been kind of forgotten. No one talks about Twilight Princess anymore, which is really sad. I love Twilight Princess, but whatever. See, will you be releasing a document with a basic overview? Yeah, I think I've answered that a few times. I'll probably do something like that someday, just not anytime soon. See, Wind Waker is crunched to heck along with Majora's Mask. Yeah, Wind Waker, like, it's a well-known fact that Wind Waker was not finished and just kind of shoved out on the GameCube. Majora's Mask, I think, turned out better because they knew going into it that it would have a very short development cycle, so they probably had very realistic goals with Majora's Mask for considering how short the development cycle was. And, you know, it probably led to far less, you know, problems that they ran into in making Wind Waker, because I don't think they went into Wind Waker thinking, this is a game we have to make super quickly. I think they probably thought they had a normal development cycle with it, and then they're like, okay, well, the GameCube's been out. We need a Zelda game now. Fucking get this thing out. And their gamble worked. Well, actually it didn't. Wind Waker didn't sell particularly well. Little known fact, Wind Waker actually did not sell very well. Nintendo did consider it a little bit of a financial failure, so I guess it didn't work for them. Are you sure you're not psychic? No, I'm not psychic. Estelle's the psychic one. More so than the infamous Star Fox Adventures. I don't think... I mean, again, correct me if I'm wrong. When Adventures came out, I don't think it was considered... I don't think it was, like, infamous. Or I don't think people hated it. I feel like a lot of the dislike for Adventures is actually retrospective. It's like, it's years later, people are like, I didn't really want a Zelda Star Fox game. At the time Adventures came out, I feel like it got positively reviewed. It sold pretty well. A lot of the people I knew, like, that liked Star Fox at the time, they all liked Adventures. I liked Adventures when it came out. But I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there was... unless you mean something else about infamous Star Fox Adventures. See, agreed, they're very Borg-like. I'm guessing that's the Aperoids. Okami's on the PS4. Well, I don't have a PS4. Maybe I should get one, because they're probably cheap now. Should Miyu and Faye come back in the future? If you mean, like, if Nintendo makes a Star Fox game, honestly, I'm in the mindset that Nintendo should just sell Star Fox. They shouldn't even make a Star Fox game. They should just sell it. Not to Disney. Just sell it to, like... What's a studio that I think could probably do a good job with Star Fox? I don't know, sell it to me. I'll keep Star Fox alive. Just sell it to me. I'll buy Star Fox for $1. But yeah, no, I would like to see Miyu and Faye in an actual Star Fox game other than the second one. I like Faye in particular is probably next to Crystal. She's probably one of my favorite characters in Star Fox, even though there's like no background detail at all on her, and she's basically a blank slate. But yeah, I'd like to see them back in a Star Fox game. Let's see. Ganon Doodles is just as disappointed with the new Zelda game as you. Oh, I didn't know that. Well, I don't know if I'm not. I don't think I'm disappointed with the new Zelda game because it's exactly what I expected. Like, I think the Zelda game that disappointed me was probably Skyward Sword. And to a lesser extent, Breath of the Wild, but I kind of was bracing for yes, to me, Skyward Sword is the one that disappointed me. Like, that's the one that's just like, what is going on in this? This is like just nonsense. The new Zelda game, like, I don't know if I can say I'm disappointed by it because it's what I thought it was gonna be. Disappointed implies you expected something different and then you got, or you expected or hoped for something different or better, and then you ended up not that bar didn't get reached, and I didn't have any bar for the new Zelda game. I didn't even ever plan on playing it, so I can't really say I was disappointed, but from what I've seen of it, I'm not really interested in it at all. But I don't know, if Ganon Doodles wants to talk to someone else who doesn't like the new Zelda stuff, I'll talk to them. I don't think I've ever talked to them before. If I did, they don't go by the name Ganon Doodles. Let's see. Funny now that almost everyone agrees Skyward Sword is not as good as they remembered, even with the remaster. Yeah, no one seems to really like Skyward Sword that much. I know a few people who do, but it does seem the general Zelda fandom doesn't really like Skyward Sword, and rightfully so. Skyward Sword's not that good of a game. Even if you divorce all the weird plot and lore shit from Skyward Sword and you just look at it strictly from like the game structure and like the gameplay, it's not very fun at all. It's a very badly paced, slow and awkward game. I remember, I want to say it was Game Grumps. Someone was doing a Let's Play of Skyward Sword like a few years ago, and I think it was Game Grumps, and I just had it on in the background. And I realized you don't encounter the first, and they weren't really dicking around. They were playing through the game, like trying to get through it at a reasonable pace. They weren't like dawdling around or anything. And it took them an hour to get to the very first enemy encounter in that game. And when I realized that blew my mind. I'm like, I can appreciate a game that takes its time, but an hour to get to the first actual Bokoblin that you have to fight, that is fucking insane, especially for a Zelda game. Like, I don't know. Skyward Sword is, to me, it's a disaster. I don't know how it sold better than Wind Waker. It reviewed extremely well when it came out. It got 10 out of 10s. All the Zelda fans seem to like it when it came out. But yeah, no Zelda fans don't seem to like it anymore, which I guess I agree with them there. Yeah, Skyward Sword is just, ugh. I think it's worse than even Breath of the Wild and the new Zelda game. Skyward Sword is the low point of that whole series. I think it's worse. I'll go ahead and say it. Here's a hot take. Skyward Sword is worse than the CDI games. There, I said it. Lynch me now. And the YouTube chat just did the jumping thing again. Let's see. What is... I just saw a question and it shifted. It was about writing. Katie Lewis mentioned, have you done artwork, concept art of Skull Kid in Hyrule Total War and Conquest? You know what? I actually did. And guess what? I did the concept art of Skull Kid only like 2 or 3 weeks ago. If you're in my Discord, I'll show it. But again, I got tired of Zelda, so yeah, that's one of the last things I actually did. I made art of Skull Kid. But there was another question I saw that I had a... There it is. Wispy Whiskers asks, what's your writing philosophy in 20 words or less? Alright. No plan survives contact with the enemy. That's my writing philosophy in 20 words or less. Alrighty, let's see what other questions there are. I saw that question and I had to answer it right away. Okay, I see people mentioning about how Estelle's busy. Yeah, she's been extremely busy. She was pretty busy in June, and then in July, she was basically just not even home at all throughout most of July. She was, at conventions and a bunch of business-related stuff. Actually, I think in a few days she's going to be at Gamescom in Germany.
But she's going to that for business though. She's not going there as Crystal for like Star Fox related stuff. She's going there for a business thing. And I wanted to go to Gamescom. I actually Ascaris, the guy who works on Hyrule, he does a lot of the programming stuff for Hyrule Conquest. He and the company he works for is going to be at Gamescom in Germany, and he tried to get me a hotel room and everything, and I was going to meet him, and then I was going to go and, hang out with Estelle and, meet her in person at Gamescom, but my fucking passport still isn't showing up, so I can't go. But yeah, she's been super busy this July, the most busy I've ever seen her. And yeah, she just got engaged too. So yeah, she's got a lot going on right now, and she's trying to get everything all organized. But let's look for another question. I'm not seeing a lot of questions now, just comments to questions I answered already. Jack-o'-lantern 14. What was the ending going to be for the factions in Hyrule Conquest? Well, I don't know if I'll get into all the very specific endings for all the factions. I guess I could talk about the actual ending to Hyrule Conquest, though. If anyone's interested in that, there were several different, depending on, what time it was, there was several different possible endings I was considering for all of Hyrule Conquest. I could probably discuss them a little bit, even though some of them might not make sense without the context of the rest of the game. But I don't know if people are interested. Maybe I can go into more detail about that. See, all I know about the Godzilla films universe. Let's see. I know all about the Godzilla films universe here, and I know that you're okay. Yeah, that was in response to the thing. They say the Twisted Metal show is good. I hope it's good because I like Twisted Metal. I like the Twisted Metal games. If the show's good, then I'll be happy. I've seen many trailers for things where the trailer was terrible and the thing ended up being awesome, and vice versa. I've seen many trailers for things where the trailer was awesome and then the movie or the game ended up being garbage. So the Twisted Metal show could be awesome. All I was saying is the trailer made me wince. So the trailer for the Twisted Metal show didn't look good, but maybe the show is good. We'll see. I'll watch it someday. Would it be better to say the Zelda universe should be multi-timeline because it should have split? Well, I think that is what the Zelda universe is right now. It's like a parallel universe, multiple timeline dimension multiverse thing right now. That is one, I guess, quote unquote solution of the problem. That's just not what I would do because I feel like if you turn something into a multiverse with parallel universes, that has a bunch of other ramifications and negative consequences that I wouldn't want to deal with, and kind of ruins things. Like a multiverse thing is actually pretty hard to do, and I find it kind of amusing that it seems like everything left and right is turning into like a multiverse. Even fucking Babylon 5, probably my favorite sci-fi thing ever. They're bringing back Babylon 5 as like an animated movie, I think this month or next month. And basically they're turning Babylon 5 into like some kind of multiverse with like parallel versions of all the and it's just like you're opening a huge can of worms there, you know that? To me, I feel like the whole multiverse idea, and to a lesser extent or a lesser degree time travel, really only works if you're making a comedy. Because there's a lot of hilarious and absurd implications about the whole multiverse thing that I feel like works really well with comedy. And when I think about it, a lot of the most popular like multiverse things or even time travel things are comedies. Like Back to the Future is a like it really works for comedies, but I don't know. If I were in charge of Zelda, I wouldn't do the multiverse thing, which I think is what Zelda is right now. It's like a split timeline, deviating timeline with multiple realities right now. I think that's how Nintendo's treating it. Anyway. Oh, wait, I completely misread what you said. You are saying that's what Zelda is right now. Yeah, no, I was agreeing with you then. Sorry. Anyway, that was a roundabout way of me saying yes, I'm agreeing with you. See, Ladies Man asks, what if they made a Spider-Verse like Zelda game where you can play as all the Link? Well, I think I kind of answered that in the last question, indirectly anyway. Intrepid Swordsman. It's easy to forget that Crystal technically wasn't Fox's first love interest. Yes, that is true. Crystal was not Fox's first love interest. Although, actually, I have to... You know what? Okay, the Star Fox fans, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not making a definitive claim here, but did Fox actually say he was interested in Farah in the comic, and vice versa? I don't think he did. I don't think there was... I mean, he did say that she looked just like his mother, and that his father would have swooned over Farah, which is very weird. But I don't think there's any point in the comics where Fox or Farah or either one of them is like kind of expresses interest in each other. Now, I do think if the comic had gone on long enough, they probably would have eventually. But I think there's only like I think there's only 3 or 4 issues of that comic, and then Farah's kind of forgotten after that. So I do think that she would have become a very explicit love interest for him eventually, but I actually don't think in the comic there's any lovely-dovely between them at all, unless you count the weird like him comparing her to his mother. But then he says like my father would have swooned over you. You look just like my mother. He's saying his father would have loved her, which is, I don't know. So correct me if I'm wrong, if there was like a line of dialogue in the comic where they were lovely-dovely, but I actually don't think either of them had any lines of, love interest, lovely-dovely with each other. So Crystal might actually still be his first love interest. I'll have to have people confirm that or not for me. Ladies Man, have you played Mass Effect? What if they made an adult Star Fox that was like Mass Effect? Yes, the first Mass Effect is one of my favorite games. I will go as far as to say that the first Mass Effect is probably the closest the entire video game industry has got to telling a very good interactive story that isn't total shit. I feel like the later Mass Effect games are not very good. Which I actually don't think that's a hot take. I think a lot of people agree that, especially like Mass Effect 3 and then Andromeda, I think a lot of people agree those are terrible. But I'll even go as far as to say Mass Effect 2 is not, it's just kind of not as good as the first one. So yeah, I played Mass Effect. The first one is awesome. As far as making an adult Star Fox game, that, whether it's Mass Effect or not, making a quote-unquote adult Star Fox game would be really, really hard to do because you'd probably run into the Shadow the Hedgehog problem. I feel like it could be done. In fact, I feel like it is kind of being done a lot with A Fox in Space. I feel like he's cracked the magical code for making like an adult gritty like Star Fox thing. But I think the reason that he succeeds and the reason that anyone would succeed if they made like an adult Star Fox thing is, and well, actually, let me invert that. I feel like where most people would fail at making an adult Star Fox thing is because they would not want to acknowledge that there's something inherently absurd about and goofy about Star Fox. I feel like if you make any Star Fox thing, whether it's like an adult Star Fox or just anything else, you have to accept that Star Fox is kind of goofy and absurd. Like, you have fucking, flying dinosaur boats with cannons and shit, and a giant, disembodied monkey head, you have Yeah, there's so much absurdity in Star Fox that you would have to come to terms with that and accept it and not shy away from it if you ever really want to do anything Star Fox that doesn't end up like Shadow the Hedgehog. Because I feel like a lot of people that would try to make an adult Star Fox thing would not. They would try and get away from that because, oh, if it's Star Fox is silly and goofy, then it's not adult. So I'm gonna make an adult Star Fox thing and just ignore all. And then they'd run into a bunch of problems like, well, how do I include the goofy stuff? I'll just ignore it. Like, I feel like that would be the problem, and I feel like the reason Mr. Gafford succeeds with a Fox in Space is because I think he loves Star Fox because of how absurd it is. I think he knows that. He's very conscious of it, and I think he likes Star Fox because of, or at least regardless of all the weird premise of Star Fox itself. So I guess to answer your question, it depends. Like, that could work, but I have a feeling it wouldn't in most cases because no one would do it right. Backlash 9. Would you ever give a game like Ace Combat a try? They are pretty fun. Well, I'll tell you what. I currently have, which one is it? Ace Combat 7 Skies Unknown installed with its icon on my desktop, but it's in the corner of my desktop with a bunch of games I still need to play and haven't played yet because I don't have a lot of time to play video games. I have, like, let me see how many I have. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I have 15 games I've bought that I've installed that I haven't gotten to yet. Because I just don't have time yet. And it's just been like building up. I finally got to play the Spyro Reignited trilogy like a month ago, which I've had installed on my computer for like 3 years now. I've had the Spyro Reignited trilogy installed for years, and I just never. It took me that long to get through all the other games I had, and I finally got to it. So I'll eventually get to Ace Combat 7. I just don't know when. Anyway, let's see what other questions there are. There's the Mass Effect question. Roller Coaster Tycoon is how to get away with Murder Simulator. It certainly can be that. Let's see. What other questions are there? Slippy and Peppy's endings, I presume you mean in Command, are positive because they're not really an ending. Oh, yeah. Well, if I remember right, both of their endings still involve the Star Fox team falling apart and breaking up, which I consider that a negative, at least the way it's done in that game. Like, I feel like someone probably could make an ending to Star Fox that results in the team breaking up, like some kind of bittersweet ending. But again, like, tragic endings are really hard to do. I feel like if you can pull off a tragic ending, it's the best kind of ending you can do. It's just really hard to do. Star Fox, just so much shit has happened to Star Fox. I feel like Star Fox deserves a happy, or maybe not deserves, but I really could use a happy ending for Star Fox. I guess Slippy and Peppy's endings are not the most negative endings in that game, but I don't know if maybe I'm wrong and the team did stay together in their endings and I'm misremembering. I guess correct me if I'm wrong about that. Dash's evil ending was a bit of the jump the shark moment. Yeah, I do find it really funny that it seems like Dash's whole motivation is like, I don't want to follow in the footsteps of my family. You know, he wanted to break the cycle of his family's habit of becoming, maniacal, evil dictators that want to conquer the galaxy. He's like, nah, I'm not going to do that. And he's trying so hard throughout the whole game. And at at his ending of the game, he's just like, nah, I'm a villain. And then he conquers the Lilacs. Again, you could do a tragic ending about a character that's trying to get away from, the baggage of their family and they end up falling back into it. That could be done. It has been done. Like that's the whole like half of Shakespeare's plays are that. Like half of Shakespeare's plays are the protagonists like knowing that they're knowing that they are about to do something wrong or that they shouldn't do, or that they're related to people who've done things wrong, and they go the entire play trying to not do that. And at the end of the play, because of a character flaw or just, circumstances or whatever, they end up becoming a villain, and they usually die or they do something terrible, like freaking King Lear or Macbeth. You could do a story about a descendant of Andros that wants to get away from, his family's lineage and history. You could do that. And then, in the end, he ends up failing. That could be done. Just in Command, that's not what happens. He spends the whole game doing that, and then just out of nowhere, it's just like, yeah, I'm going to be evil. I'm going to conquer Lylat. And then he conquers Lylat. It's just, oh my, yeah, Command, oh my goodness. Command is funny. Let's see. Indie Vision mentions Zelda's like Neverland. People there cannot abandon its nature lest they realize how not Zelda the series has been for a decade. Yeah, that's an interesting comparison. I feel like you could make a Zelda game that's not like a Zelda game that's awesome, though. I mean, case in point, that's what I've been doing for like the last... when did I start on Hyrule Total War? So like 12, 13 years now. Like I've been making a real-time strategy Zelda game, which is not a Zelda game at all. So I feel like the fact that like Breath of the Wild is not similar to the older Zelda games, I don't think that's the problem exactly, because things do naturally change over time. Like just because, but things change like organically, naturally, and slowly over time. Like, I guess in the example of Star Fox, that's not what happened. It's like they try to completely reinvent the wheel every single, like artificially all the time. But hypothetically, let's say Star Fox lasted like 300 years. Regardless of what people do, it's just gonna change over time. And the same thing with Zelda. Like it'll change and not be exactly what it was in 1998 in 2253 or whatever, 200 years from now, assuming it lasts that long. So I don't think the problem is necessarily that the new games are not like older Zelda games. I think the problems are they're just a lack of quality. Frankly, they're just subpar quality. They feel like just as an example, the voiceovers are really subpar. Like there's nothing wrong with trying to have voiceovers, just get good voiceovers. But the voiceovers in the new Zelda games are atrocious, which I've said many times. And actually, despite how much that I don't seem to relate to the Zelda fandom, I've seen quite a lot of Zelda fans agree with me in that regard. So I don't know. But regardless, I do think the Neverland comparison is still... I still think that's probably the right word to use. There's like a Neverland aspect to Zelda, which is ironic because Ocarina of Time, it's pretty obvious that Zelda's kind of aping visual imagery from Peter Pan. And Ocarina of Time in particular, like you basically... Link is in Neverland at the start of Ocarina of Time. And the point of Ocarina of Time is you can't stay there. You have to leave. And if you don't, you're going to be forced to against your will, which is what happens to Link in Ocarina of Time. He's stuck in Neverland. He's stuck in the Kokiri Forest where no one ever grows up. Everyone's a child forever. And because you cannot do that, you cannot live in that bubble, something from the outside eventually is going to destroy that bubble. And that's what happens. Ganondorf poisons the Deku Tree with the Goma Queen. The Great Deku Tree dies, and Neverland is shattered. And Link is the only person there that is even remotely equipped. He's technically still not equipped to handle it. Like, he's not equipped to handle it. He's artificially turned into an adult man to compensate for the fact that he's been in Neverland. Like, So the whole point of like that especially that Zelda game and Majora's Mask 2 is like you have to grow up. Like you have to eventually. You cannot stay in Neverland forever. It is impossible. If you don't, the world will destroy you eventually. Like so it's just weird to me that yeah, there's this mentality of like anyway, sorry. I feel like I'm just being mean to Zelda fans now. I feel like I'm being mean to Zelda fans now, so I'll just stop. Anyway. How long have I been going, actually? I feel like I've been going... Oh my god, I've been going for almost 2 hours. I guess we'll go for a little bit longer, and then I'm going to go eat lunch or something. I didn't even realize I've been going this long. I guess this live stream was more of a success than I expected, so that's cool. I appreciate all the questions. I've kind of enjoyed this. Anyway. Let us look at some more questions. I'll answer a few more questions, and then I'm going to go get lunch. Let's see. They probably downgraded Breath of the Wild's graphics because they didn't realize how underpowered the Switch was. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the technical incompetency of the... Well, it was the Wii U they were making it for, so it wasn't even the Switch. It was the Wii U. I'm certain that's been a thorn in Zelda's side since at least the Wii, which just goes to the larger problem, which is just Nintendo's lack of quality. Now, in fairness to the Wii, the console was very cheap. It was marketed as being very cheap. There was no like false advertisement there. You were buying a console, an underpowered, low quality console for less money. Like there was no like deception there. So at least when it came to the Wii, Nintendo was pretty honest about what it was. But they've never really left that mentality. Their stuff is all cheaply made, but now it's not sold for cheap. Their stuff is overpriced, and it never goes on sale. So now they very much are like a company that makes very cheaply made stuff at what's the phrase I'm looking for? At I guess a high price relative to the quality. And the reason they can do that is because everyone just seems to like their stuff and accept it. Like no one really seems to point out the fact that their stuff is, not the highest quality. And like if you enjoy this stuff, like fair enough. There's lots of things I like that's not really high quality. Like things don't have to be like really high quality to be enjoyable. Like there's lots of like really badly made like 80s action movies that I fucking love. Like what's an example? No, that's not a good example. I was gonna say Sword and the Sorcerer is one of my fucking favorite movies ever, but that movie actually isn't really that low quality. That's a really really well made movie. I guess any Alex Pune movie, the guy who directed Sword and the Sorcerer, he made a bunch of really low budget, low quality like action movies in the 80s and 90s, and most of them I fucking love. Like Nemesis is one of my favorite movies, not Star Trek Nemesis. Alex Pune's Nemesis is fucking awesome. Just look up the hotel shootout scene in Nemesis. Like it's amazing. And that movie's technically a low quality movie, so like I don't want to like shit on the fact that Nintendo makes low quality stuff, but like there seems to be like this denial that they actually make cheap low quality stuff. And it's like no, they make low quality stuff on a budget and they sell it for a lot. I don't even remember what the question was, so I don't know what I was answering there. Oh, it was the downgraded graphics. Yeah. Someone's mentioning that they remember the Space World Zelda. Yeah, the Space World Zelda trailer, in retrospect, it doesn't look that good, but that's not really the point. The point is that's what people were expecting. That's what they were kind of promised. And then they ended up getting Wind Waker instead. So I think a lot of Zelda fans felt like they were given a false promise, at least at the time. So no one seems to remember that, so I guess they got over it. Let's see. Tears of the Kingdom is more like Banjo-Kazooie nuts and bolts than a Zelda game. Yeah, it is. I feel like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, the actual elements they share with a Zelda game are surface level and kind of minor. And again, that in and of itself is not necessarily a bad thing. Um, it's just not done very well in my opinion. Um, yeah, Lord of Creation is mentioning that Gafford is a excellent compare. Yeah, Gafford pulls off the grungy druggy adult Star Fox really perfectly. So he's proof that it's possible. I don't think many people can do that. I don't even think I could do it. I don't think I could pull it off. Like a very adult Star Fox. I don't think I could do it. Anyway, Majora's Mask probably wouldn't have been anywhere near as good if it had more time. That's possible. I kind of do believe in the expression that adversity creates art. And I do very much think Majora's Mask is the product of oh shit, we have like no time to make this. I made a bet with Miyamoto. Why did I make a bet with him? Oh crap, we need to like do something. Holy crap, I need to win this bet. It's very like Majora's Mask very much is the cynical product of and if you know anything about the making of that game, there was a bunch of shit going on in Japan at the time too, that like the whole team was like depressed. Like there was like threat of like nuclear missiles being launched at Japan at the time. So like there was like an oppressive atmosphere against the people making that game that I think is what kind of resulted in a very interesting and very very good game. There's something really strange and magical about Majora's Mask. Anyway, a lot of GameCube games felt rushed. Mario Sun. Yeah, I think a lot of GameCube games were actually rushed. I know Adventures when it became Star Fox was technically rushed, even though it had been in development as Dinosaur Planet years before that. So it's kind of like a half rushed thing. Wind Waker was rushed. I don't think Twilight Princess was rushed though. I actually am pretty sure Twilight Princess was delayed 2 or 3 times, and that was technically a GameCube game. Or was it rushed? I don't remember. I can't keep anything straight anymore. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know if Metroid Prime or any of the Metroid Prime games were rushed, but they might have been. I don't know. But yeah, Mario Sunshine was, Wind Waker was, I think Luigi's Mansion. Oh. Super Smash Bros. Melee was actually rushed, which is why it has a lot of buggy mechanics in it that people don't want them to get rid of. Yeah, Super Smash Bros. Was really rushed out onto the GameCube. Let's see what other questions are. I'm actually getting pretty hungry, so I might wrap this up soon. Star Fox Adventures wasn't hated. It just didn't feel too Star Fox for me. Yeah, that's I feel like that's a very fair and accurate description of Adventures. It's a nice game, but it's not really a Star Fox game. The thing is, I feel like that could have worked if they really really pushed the notion that Fox is very much out of his element, which is what I'm actually trying to do in the Soria portion of my game. Like, I'm really pushing the notion that Soria and the dinosaur planet is a completely bonkers and weird place for Fox, where he's very much out of his element. And I feel like if they pushed that more in Adventures, I feel like it probably would have been even better. Like if Fox has shown up with his blaster and it just, something about the planet stopped it from working and he's forced to be resourceful, or if he just questioned things more. Like, there's so many things that happen in the Star Fox Adventures where Fox is just like, okay. Like, he just accepts like really weird things. Like, I feel like it would have been better if he's like, what the fuck's what the fuck's a warp stone? Not the foul language, but if he's like, what the heck's the warp stone? Like, or what the heck's a cloud runner? Like, and that way he's like a proxy for the audience as well. Like, you learn about Soria on the dinosaur planet through his ignorance. The audience learns about the world through him. I feel like there was a huge missed opportunity there. I feel like that if they leaned into that aspect more, I feel like the fact that Adventures is not really a Star Fox game might not have been seen as so much of a problem. Basically, if they acknowledge, yeah, this isn't a Star Fox game, he's completely out of his element, help him get back to the R-Wing, something like that. I feel like that would have helped a lot. So to me, that was a missed opportunity with Adventures. But, they were rushed, so we're lucky we got as good as we got with that game. And, we got Estelle Ellis and Crystal and a bunch of cool things out of Adventures, so I ain't complaining. Let's see. Pikmin 4 is out. Oh, is it out? I still haven't played Pikmin 3, which the first two Pikmins are two of my favorite games ever, so I should get 3 and 4. Let's see, what time is it? I'll probably go on for like 5 more minutes, and then I'm gonna probably get off because I'm getting really hungry. See, Kung Fury was intentionally made the way it was. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember Kung Fury. That was that YouTube that like 15-minute YouTube thing, right? That was kind of like an 80s. I might be thinking of something else. Or are you talking about Kung Pao, the movie from like 20 years ago where they superimposed the guy's head on like kung fu footage? That movie's also pretty funny, but that might not be what you're talking about. Anyway, here's a question about Event Horizon. I know you've got the Assault story plan, but how far after that are you going? Quite far after that. I'm gonna do the command stuff after Assault, and then I'm going to do the quote unquote the original stuff that Event Horizon originally was, 10 years ago when I started, before I decided to just kind of redo all of Star Fox in one game. So it'll be going quite a few years. If you're talking about like a timeline of things, quite a few years after Assault. Let's see. The best way to describe Nintendo games is they make 80s, 90s games in the 2020s. I think when it comes to their mentality of how they make their games, that is true. That might actually be, I don't know, because there's a lot of 80s and 90s games of such high quality, including Nintendo games, but that could just be because in, that time period it required a lot less resources to make what's considered like a high quality game. It could be the case of they just never upped their resource game, which is bizarre to me because Nintendo, as far as I'm aware, is one of the richest video game companies on the planet. They have like no debt, which is the best thing you can have if you're a company. They have like no debt, which is how they can fucking afford to like have the financial disaster that's the Wii U, the thing that killed Sega, and the fucking 3DO or whatever, release a console that's a dud and then survive it and then make like the next best-selling console ever immediately after. Like, they have no debt, so they're like in such a perfect place financially. You'd think they'd be like, yeah, we can afford an actual orchestra for the Zelda games, but no, like we can afford, like really good voice actors for the Zelda games, but no, like they constantly seem to go on the cheap for all their decisions. Every decision they make seems to be like done on the cheap. Like, so I don't know. So maybe you're right. Maybe it's like they're still just running on with the same mentality of how things were made in the 80s and 90s, when things just didn't really require the same degree of resources to be considered like well made. That's possible. Because again, it's aged, but Star Fox 64 is one of the first console games. Actually, it's the first console game I could think of that had full voiceovers, and they're pretty good voiceovers. Like, that is high quality in 1996, or was it 97, when 64 came out. Like, there was nothing comparable on the market, and I don't think anyone really attempted anything with voiceovers like that until Metal Gear Solid. Which Metal Gear Solid, blew it out of the water when it came to, freaking the voiceovers. But the point is, like, Nintendo pushed and made high quality stuff in the 90s, and they just, I mean, people say they do now. I just don't agree. I feel like most of their stuff is very cheaply made now. I feel like their consoles are very cheaply made. See Joy-Con drift, just the specs of their consoles. I feel like their games are cheaply made. Their games very much have like a bare minimum like feeling to them. Like, this is the bare minimum of what's acceptable. But I don't know, people seem to fucking love their games. Maybe it's just because their games are not like drenched in like all like the Western politics and stuff yet. Maybe that's why people seem to just be willing to accept the subpar quality, because there's not like political shit shows around what's going on in Nintendo games. Even though if you're Japanese, you should be very concerned about Zelda seems to be really pushing the revival of state Shinto, so beware, they're trying to resurrect the Meiji Rebellion and Emperor Hirohito. But Americans, that just goes over Americans' heads, so yeah, there is like a political layer of stuff going on in Zelda games, but it's very much like lost on Western audiences. So that could be a reason why. I don't know. People seem to like a lot of Nintendo stuff, despite the fact that it all just seems like cheaply made toys to me. And maybe that's unfair of me. So I don't know. Whatever. I don't like it. Let's see. I'll probably answer like one or two more questions, which I'm at the end of the chat, so there's probably only one or two more. Someone's asking, Katie Lewis is asking if I could upload the Skull Kid sketch on DeviantArt. I mean, I don't really go on to DeviantArt anymore, but maybe I'll just post like an art dump of just tons and tons of concept art I did for Hyrule Conquest. And I'll throw the Skull Kid in there. If you're on my Discord, though, just let me know. I'll go ahead and post it on Discord so you don't have to wait. I'm not seeing any more questions, so I guess ask one more question, I'll answer it, and then I'm done for the day. I think I've been going for well over 2 hours now. That's usually the point where my eyes start to gloss over. Any more questions, anyone, or am I just going to head out? It's probably a delay, so I'll wait a minute. Just got here. Last version, is it ending? Yeah, I'm stepping away from Hyrule Conquest for the foreseeable future. Just if you missed the start of the stream. Well, I think I mentioned it on another stream, actually. I just kind of tired of Zelda, so I'll ask one more question. That was dump the art. That's funny. Yeah, maybe I have like tons of Tweely art I've made. If there is one regret I have, it's that I never got around to making all the Tweely stuff. Like, I think it was a week or two ago. I was thinking about an idea popped in my head about creating like an outfit for Midna. And I'm like, man, I want to model some Tweely stuff. I'm gonna design and model this outfit for Midna, and I started doing the sketch, and then I ended up giving the outfit to my original character, Donut Steel, that you see on the screen here. I mean, she's not wearing the outfit, but I ended up giving that outfit to her instead. Because I just was like, I can't do Zelda stuff anymore. So, yeah. See, I asked one about if you could take some advice from TFS. Is TFS, what's TFS on copyright issues? Is TFS another way of saying the fox in space. Yeah, ask me what, or tell me what TFS is. I actually don't know what the heck that is. Let me look it up and see what comes up. TFS. TFS, your trusted guide to a brighter financial future. Toyota Financial Services. I have a feeling this isn't what you're talking about. So yeah, just clarify what TFS is. Team 4-Star. I don't think I've heard of Team 4-Star. I'm guessing from the name and the fact that it's 4, it is something related to Star Fox. Team 4-Star. I'm not sure what that is. I'm sorry. I'm not sure what Team 4-Star is. I don't think I've even heard of it. I guess let me look up Team 4-Star. Maybe I do know what it is. I just don't remember the name. Team 4-Star. Team 4-Star. Oh, fucking hell. Yes, the Dragon Ball Z. Yes. Okay, I know what Team 4-Star is. Duh. I guess I just forgot that their little group was called Team 4-Star. Anyway. All right, I see one more question. This is the last one I'll answer, and then I'm going to go. Matthew Burton asks, I think this got missed. What's the thoughts on making a Star Fox RTS like you tried in Armada 2? I would love a Star Fox RTS, and if I'm not absolutely sick of Star Fox when I finish Event Horizon, I'll definitely consider making one, but I do have a feeling when I've finished Star Fox Event Horizon, I'm actually just going to move on to my own original stuff finally. Like, Estelle and I have actually, not in the last several weeks because she's been so busy, but her and I have talked a lot about making an original game together. And like the character you see on the screen right now, is the character she's going to play. She's going to be using that character for her own stuff too. So I think when Star Fox is done, and I've been posting little bits of it here and there on Twitter too to kind of, put it out there, but when Star Fox is done, I'm pretty sure I'm going to just move on to my own stuff finally and kind of leave behind all the fan stuff. Even though I'm pretty sure like I'll have a smaller audience and it probably won't be as successful, but I think that's probably just the right thing to do at that point. So I don't know if I'll ever make a Star Fox RTS game, but it is something I would definitely like to make and I'd like to see. It's such a low priority that I don't know if I'll ever make it. So anyway, I guess, yeah, that's it. Oh, I do see one. I do see one more question I'll answer. That's also kind of a good way to segue out. Indievasion asks, do you have any last words for the Zelda fans of yours? I'm really, really happy you guys have stuck around all these years. Like, if it wasn't for you guys, Hyrule Conquest probably would have died in, like, 2016, like, years ago. So I'm really thankful for that, and especially all of the fans that were part of Patreon. That alone helped me tremendously. Just being able to not work full-time at the warehouse and still be able to work on, the Zelda game for so long. Like, that was really cool. And that extends to all the Star Fox fans that are part of the Patreon now, too. Like, you guys have no idea how much that helps. Like, well, you guys might have some idea. I mean, the world is kind of... The Western world, anyway, is in a really bad economic situation right now. And I'm not exactly rich. So being able to get some income to work on this stuff and not have to work at my other day job full-time has basically made this all possible. If it wasn't for that, I would be so far behind. Like, I would still be working on this stuff, but I would be so far behind because, I'd be... if you want an example of that, just go back to the winter of, I think it was 2015. That was when the Steam Greenlight incident happened. I was working at the warehouse 7 days a week, like 8+ hours a day in December, like on Christmas Day, because the Patreon was still pretty low at that point. So I was working there 7 days a week, and I was just like, I gotta work on my fucking Hyrule Total War, and I can't because I'm at the fucking warehouse. Like, and I'd get really tired by the time I got home, and I was just barely getting anything done. So like, yeah, the all the Zelda fans, especially like the patron ones, like none of this would have been possible if it wasn't for you. I'd probably still be I'd still be like really far behind. And same thing with Star Fox Event Horizon. I mean, actually, Star Fox Event Horizon's a great example because there was almost no one, financially supporting Star Fox Event Horizon until the last year. And look how slow the progress was on Event Horizon for like 8 years. And then suddenly, a year ago, I met Estelle Ellis. We started, the Patreon thing, and there's just tons of people, throwing in their support. And now look at how quickly I'm like pumping out Star Fox Event Horizon stuff. There's a correlation. So you all have my thanks, and I do feel like I should apologize that I'm kind of just stepping away from Hyrule Conquest, but like I feel like it's just. I feel like I would be making a subpar product if I just kept doing it right now, because I'm very much like I really don't even want to think about Zelda, like not even just Hyrule Conquest, but Zelda in general. Like I considered, and this might happen. So I guess here's some words for Zelda fans of mine. One day I might make an N64 Zelda game that is a direct sequel to Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. I flirted around with making stuff on the N64. Actually, if you're in my patron Discord, I've even posted some screenshots. I've gotten some of my stuff working on the N64. Some of my Zelda models and stuff and animations. So I might make a Zelda thing like that someday, but like even now I don't want to think about Zelda. So by the way, you need to update your Patreon link in your YouTube. Oh, yeah. Thank you for... You mean on my YouTube description? Yeah, I forgot about that. I'll go do that. Yeah. Yeah, I need to do that. Let's see, is there anything else I want to say? Skeleton Belleton, Super Sulcaris 64. Yes, Sulcaris, her model is one of the models I got onto the N64. So yeah, if I did do an N64 Zelda game, Sulcaris would be the villain in it for sure. It'd probably just be a lot of ideas from Fallen Sage and Hyrule Conquest kind of condensed into a 64 style Nintendo 64 game. But again, I'm making no promises because I don't know if that'll be made, but that's a possibility. It's also possible in a few years I'll be like, hey, I haven't thought about Zelda in, a year or 2 years or 3 years or whatever, and I kind of, Star Fox Event Horizon's calming down. Maybe I'll start working on Hyrule Conquest again. Anything can happen. I don't want to make any promises. And just right now, my mind is very much like just I want to get away from Zelda, and I really want to just kind of do Star Fox. So that's kind of where my mind is. So anyway, there's probably more last words that I have, and I just can't think of them right now. So I am going to go now. That stream went much better than I expected. 2.5 hours with just me. I didn't even have a guest star. I didn't have Estelle or Gafford or any of the heavy hitters. Like, it was just me. So that's awesome. Anyway, I will it's not set in stone yet, but I do know Estelle and I are going to try and do a stream sometime in September. We're going to do the 3rd Casual Crystal Corner stream, and we're going to talk about weird shit like crystals and animal symbols and a bunch of hippy-dippy stuff. The stuff I used to talk about with Deox years ago, but then I stopped because I don't think anyone understood anything Deox and I were talking about. Estelle and I are going to do that sometime in September, hopefully, so I guess stay tuned for that. And then, how could I forget? I'm going to release a new demo of Star Fox Event Horizon sometime in the next week or two. I've made the trailer. Well, the trailer's not completely done, but I made the trailer for it. I have a rough cut of the trailer. It's going to be the entire Lilat Wars campaign will be playable. And the first 5 levels in it will be fully voiced. And, there's going to be some of the work in progress Soria stuff. So, yeah, there's going to be a free, playable, downloadable demo of Star Fox Event Horizon very soon. I want to say probably like the first week of September, but maybe earlier if, things go well. So stay tuned for that. That's going to be out soon, and it's going to be awesome. I'm just having some people look for bugs in it right now because I don't want to release it with lots of bugs. Anyway, see you guys, and have a good one.